anything like Nurse Joy, except for, well, you know, all the other Nurse Joys. You see, Nurse Joy isn't just one character, but in fact hundreds, thousands, all identical and all running various Pokemon centers throughout the Pokemon world. In the meta sense, this is obviously meant to be a joke about how games often put an identical healer character in all the towns that you visit, but the in-universe lore explanation is that they're all related to each other. It's something that we hear as early as episode 2. While Team Rocket is busy destroying the Pokemon Center, Nurse Joy is transferring all the Pokemon there over to Pewter City. You see another Nurse Joy on the other end of the video call explaining that all the Pokemon arrived safely, to which Viridian's Nurse Joy replies,
"Hey, sis."
So they're sisters. All of them are sisters? Well, not entirely. When visiting the Orange Islands, Ash and company encounter a Nurse Joy who claims to be
the second cousin of the sister-in-law of the Joy in Saffron City.
And that's kind of an explanation, I guess. Just because you're related doesn't mean that you're gonna look this much alike, especially when you're dealing with different parents in different parts of the world. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. You know what makes a whole lot more sense? That they're all Pokemon. In Pokemon World, identical children is actually the norm, not for humans, but for Pokemon. Look at this army of Pikachus, this flock of Pidgeys. Ash's Charmander versus Richie's Charmander. They are practically interchangeable. Every Chansey in every Poké Center in pretty much every episode. They all look the same. And if Nurse Joy was also a Pokemon, her legion of identical family members would make much more sense. But you know that I wouldn't be making this episode if that was all the evidence I have. That, my friends, is just the start. The thesis. By the end of today's episode, you're going to be convinced that Nurse Joy should be getting an entry of her own into the National Dex. First, I want to point out that not only are all Nurse Joys practically identical, they're also all female. This would be a weird, highly improbable event for humans. Actually, the expected outcome. In episode 28 of the Diamond and Pearl series, Nurse Joy, which reveals Joy to be their last name. First name. I thought about that one. Anyway, last name, first name. Never really thought about that one. Anyway, Paige and Marnie Joy. Notice anything unusual about these two? They're identical to their mother. We even see their father cursed. It doesn't look like anyone took a dip in that gene pool. Normally, when you have a child, that child shares half their genetic makeup with the mother and half with the father, resulting in a look that's roughly a combination of the two. That's clearly not the case. And guess where else we see this happen? In Pokemon species. Back in Gen 2 games, we were introduced to Pokemon breeding, and when you breed two Pokemon together, the baby will always be the same species as their mother. Not only that, but the babies will look just like a smaller version of their parents. I mean, look at that little guy. Oh, how cute is he? Oh, you're so cute. Yes, you are. Oh, you were so cute till you got retconned by Pichu. Yes, you did. Sorry, where was I? Oh, yeah. So if Nurse Joy was, in fact, a Pokemon, you would expect regardless of the father to be versions of Nurse Joy, which, go figure, is exactly what we see in the anime. Instead of it being a statistical improbability, it actually would be the expected result. And, like I alluded to earlier, it also explains both kids being female. The introduction of breeding in Gen 2 also brought with it the introduction of biological sex, because Nidoran male and female from Gen 1 didn't count, apparently. And as you would expect, most Pokemon have both male and female variants, but there are a few species that are only one sex, all entirely male or all entirely female. All female Pokemon include the likes of Jinx, Kangaskhan, and wouldn't you know it, Chansey, Nurse Joy's ever-faithful medical assistant. So, with Nurse Joy's all female, she's either the luckiest genetic coin flipper ever, or the much more likely scenario, she's actually a species of Pokemon that just doesn't have a male counterpart. In other words, the way Nurse Joys look and the way they reproduce all align closer to Pokemon than they do with humans. But obviously, there are some exceptions, right? Anime's biggest Nurse Joy expert has the ability to notice slight differences between them. And yeah, there are also slight variations within Pokemon species, like between Ash's Pikachu and Richie's Pikachu. This would explain the small differences that you see between different Nurse Joys. How about this? Nurse Joys that are different in more than just their eyelash line. You see in Black and White and Sun and Moon. Well, regional variants of the Nurse Joy Pokemon. Back in Gen 7, the Hawaii-based Sun and Moon games introduced a new Pokemon mechanic, regional variants. Pokemon that have lived in certain environments for a very time adapt to their new surroundings. Fox Vulpix is now found in a snowy mountain, so he becomes a snow fox. Executor grows. Fox Vulpix is now found up in a snowy mountain, so he becomes a snow fox. Executor grows into a tall palm tree like on island shorelines, unlike their inland sun. And I propose to to you that some of these different-looking Nurse Joys actually function in the same way. Case in point, in the Orange Islands, Ash and company encounter a Nurse Joy that looks identical to the mainland Nurse Joys that we've come to know, except there's one major difference. Her skin is noticeably more tan. Now, the show tries to explain this as a natural tan because she's on an archipelago, but Sun and Moon's Nurse Joys live in yet another tropical environment, but they're as pasty and pale as I am. So if one island's Nurse Joy is tan and another island's Nurse Joy isn't, then what's the difference? Well, maybe she's just a shiny Pokemon. Shiny Pokemon have been around since Gen 2 and basically look identical to the rest of their species, but with one key difference: their color palette. They're also incredibly rare.